What's up, investors? Chase here from the Note MBA podcast. I'm coming to you from my garage, coming in after a long day of getting after it in and around our business. Anyway, on this week's show of the podcast, we talk a little bit about Robby's transformational trip out to Haiti, all of the great takeaways that came away from that. We talk about him being up in New York, me recently seeing Rent, which is kind of like taking a mini trip to New York, sort of. We talk about note deals. We talk about a recent sell of a Vegas property Robbie had, and just so much other stuff. We also talk about basically me being beat over the head for a little over 24 hours with all kinds of give back, charity, taking a moment to reflect on the good things happening in our business and sharing it as often as possible with others around us in numerous different ways. Anyway, guys, check out this week's episode right now.
Me to the hotel and I saw a picture of it. I was like, oh, that's the hotel from 2 weeks notice. And then I open to everybody how good my romantic comedy retention of information is.
First, seconds, performing, non-performing? What the f***? Note buyers, when it seems like you're in this business alone, know Chase, Robert, and the rest of their tribe are at it every week. They're bringing updates from their own note businesses as they work to find, fund, and finish deals. Follow along as they share their grassroots education with you, tuition free. If you'd like to know more about what they do and to download the entire back catalog, check out notemba.com. Now, here are your hosts, Chase Thompson and Robert Woods.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Note MBA podcast, your home for note investing on iTunes. I am Chase Thompson, joined as always by Mr. Robert Woods. Mr. Woods, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm in New York, enjoying the city. A little vacation, a little work.
Absolutely. My wife and I went to go see, we got last minute tickets to go see to the theater here in San Antonio, like the big theater downtown. And it was to go see Rent, the 20th anniversary of Rent. So I feel like I spent a little bit of time in New York for a couple of hours, which is nice. So it's a good corollary between you up at what it was the Roxy Hotel. Am I getting that totally wrong?
The Roxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this hotel for a couple reasons. It's just a nice hotel. But the best / worst part that I have to remind myself every time I'm up here, when my buddy first referred me to the hotel and I saw a picture of it, I was like, oh, that's the hotel from 2 weeks notice. And then I open to everybody how good my romantic comedy retention of information is. So it just cracks me up. But yeah, it's a cool little spot.
So you're the rom-com aficionado, Mr. Robert Woods. Come on down.
Dude, I love the rom-com. Love it.
That's okay, wait, hold on. That's Hugh Grant and Sandra Bullock?
Yes.
Bam!
Featuring Nora Jones's cameo while they're at the outdoor patio.
Oh, snap. That was when she was like just coming through. That is, you're right.
I'm going to see Nora on the 8th in Orlando, so I'm looking forward to it.
Very nice. Very nice. She did a great album with Ray Charles, like they meshed them together. It was fantastic. Anyway, that's hardly what we need to be discussing on the show. So, last week I mentioned some CFD stuff, no updates going on that. As far as real estate is concerned, I want to say it was like 20 episodes ago, but that seems a little bit far back. But we had polled the audience. Robbie had a great real estate property in Vegas. It was, I believe, one of the first, if not the first, that you had got.
First brand new house.
Yeah, and so you were trying to decide if you should keep it, sell it, what have you. We polled the fantastic Note MBA community. Some people went over to the survey, filled that out. They had overwhelmingly recommended that you should sell the property. The numbers sounded better, what have you. Some people said keep it. We've now figured out what we're doing with it. You shot a video on this whole thing. What ended up happening with this deal?
Sold, man. It took a little while for me to actually accept that I needed to sell it, but we got it sold. I got a check is floating around somewhere from UPS right now because I'm not at home to sign for it. So got a little cash in the pocket, one less thing to worry about, and now I got to figure out what to do with that check.
Very nice, very nice. Is that It seemed as though, very obviously through the video, which we'll link up over at notnba.com in the old show notes there, I could probably steal it away and put it up on YouTube as well. But it seemed as though, by the way, if you're listening on YouTube, the video is happening right now. So definitely go check that out. It seemed a little bittersweet throughout that video. You know, obviously, like you said, the first reel and all that kind of stuff. It's tough sometimes, right? Like not to get romantic, right? With the deals or different things like that, even though you know maybe you shouldn't or what have you. And in that case, it makes sense, right? It's the first deal. It's now something you've been doing for many years now, and it's led to a really great life, which is what this episode is going to be about. But it was a really cool video, and it was really neat to be able to, even though I don't know how much our audience, you know, played into the decision. I hope just a little bit, right? You know, because it took some time to deliberate and what have you, but just really neat to be able to share that opportunity with the audience and all that kind of stuff. It was very cool that you shot the video and talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I think the bittersweetness is just a great way to define it, because it was for sure. But it was also coming back to the United States on the back of this trip to Haiti that I'd been on with Children's First. And, you know, it was a transformational experience. That trip to Haiti was amazing. And I'm sitting in a second house that I own that's been vacant for months and months and months and months and months. And I hadn't been there. And just the amount of abundance that we have in excess. And after having been in Haiti, I was like, man, I can't believe it took me so long to realize I needed to let go of this. And it's one of those things. I'd actually just read an article in Forbes the other day talking about how we overvalue things that we've already spent money on, and have of them, even though, you know, it's just not adding actual value. So that it really was bittersweet. I mean, I'll be really happy when I get that check and I deposit it in my bank account, because that's going to be really nice. But the fact that it's just the closing of a chapter, you know, like something else. But it couldn't have come at a better time after being down there with Scott Dilly and the group that he put together. Just amazing group of people, 20 of us all together, and just great experience. I think, you know, we always are talking about notes and real estate and money, which we like. It's a driver. It's important. We're not gonna stop liking money. And it's interesting as you see and put together, both with people and what you're reading and experiences forming, the conversations around it's almost your duty to make as much money as possible if you're going to be a good steward of it. And I look at what, you know, he's created down there in Haiti, and man, talk about being a great steward of the excess money that's been directed towards life. And what did you drop?
Dropped a pen. It'll be edited out. You're good.
No, you don't need to edit that out. You should leave it. People drop pens. It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
So, you know, it was good. So now I got a little extra cash. I got to go invest it somewhere. Figuring out what specifically we're going to do with that. I'm going on a shopping spree this week for notes. So that's good. Little acquisition zone for the week. And man, what else do I got here? Let me look at this list. You know what I did catch myself doing? Actually, I had a great conversation with my buddy Steven, who I'm up in New York for his birthday. And then he's got a buddy of his, Danny, that I just met. It's in town from Southern California. And we were talking about, you know, the focus is on systems and income generating aspects. And the other day, because we were talking, I was like, man, I made a note card the other day before I left the house of all the things I needed to get done for the day. And I looked at it, and they're like, there wasn't a single like income producing activity. But then again, I looked at it and I was like, none of these are like the NWAs, as we talked about. They were no minimum wage activities that I should have outsourced to somebody else. And I was kind of like, you know, it's kind of nice to actually have a day where you're not a work day, where it's not always about solving the biggest problem that's in front of you. This is interesting. So lots of stuff going on, man.
Yeah. I was going to actually say, to piggyback on kind of what you were referring to, on our idea for what we wanted to do, on how we wanted to talk about this show and kind of that give back aspect of it. This morning I was hit twice or 3 times, I guess, technically. One of my friends, one of the lady that actually got Andrea and I the tickets for last night's show, she shared just a fantastic little, graphic or what have you, a little quote on it that's the secret of happiness is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. And that was from Socrates, which I thought was fantastic. And then you dropping a fantastic graphic over on Facebook, and then, of course, over on Instagram, control yourself, take only what you need. And then I guess the guy that you're up there in New York with, you said Steven, it looked like he had 100 days or something that he was doing, like maybe 365 days of gratitude. He was doing these videos maybe, and he thanked you. And
it's 100 days of love, he calls it.
100 days of love, right? And so it was you and a guy named Danny, I think, right? And he was just saying, how much he was grateful for you guys, how much he loved you guys, and all that kind of stuff. So I just got hit in the face, boom, 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 1, 2, 1, 2 punch, just this combo of take a step back. Right. Robby just got back from Haiti. I definitely wanted to talk about that on the show. And then, this idea of take control of yourself, only take what you need, get more comfortable with less. And then, of course, just that fantastic video of the 46, 47 of his videos I love, which is great. So, yeah, it just felt like a great way to kind of continue to push into this next month, all of that kind of stuff. And it just seemed to make sense, right? When the universe smacks you in the face that many times in rapid succession for like 5 minutes, you're like, oh, maybe I should listen. So, it was a really great, just bam, 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 bam of just stop, think of, where you might be able to either be in a position to give, be in a position just to take less, as it were, or what have you. And my wife and I were actually talking about this last night, and we did some things. We took some action last night against that. And so it just seemed to be, at least over the past 24 hours, really a theme that kept coming up for me. So
I like it. Well, it kind of came along while I was in Haiti. I was also reading this book by Joshua Becker called The More of Less. The subtitle on it's Finding the Life You Want Under Everything You Own. And, I've been progressively removing things from my house, as rapidly as I can. And then, reading a book like this and realizing, man, again, like we said, we've already got so much stuff. Some of it we need, some of it we don't, a back focus on, why are we consuming what we're consuming? Are you buying things to fill a void? Or are you procrastinating, doing something else, and you fill that with shopping? And is what we're shopping for necessary? Because I got the book has a quote in it by William Morris. And what's funny is I had just gotten a gift from one of my best friends. And inside of it, he had printed off this quote. It says, have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. And in the sense of like having less or focusing on less but still having the best, I think the funny thing about it is I'm looking at what I'm doing with my note business right now, mm-hmm. and with my rental properties, and selling off a lot of the rental properties that I would say are not the ideal ones for me to keep. That house in Vegas was gorgeous and beautiful, and it wouldn't have been bad for me to have kept it in my portfolio had I taken action sooner on it, and it just was what it was. But looking at our businesses and what are you going out and acquiring from assets, and what are you focusing on? I really struggle when I hear these guys that are teaching classes want to have people count off how many notes they've bought. And, you could buy 100 notes, but if they're all, $8,000 to $15,000 in rubbish, or what are you really doing, as opposed to the guy that goes out and he's new, but he's able to acquire the note on a really nice property, a really good deal that's a little bit more solid. And what are you focusing on inside of doing the deal and the growth in your business? Do you need to be telling people you have 100 deals, or would you rather just have 5 deals that are each 20 times the size of those other deals?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Quality over quantity is obviously something that comes up from that, right? You've got an opportunity to scale, though, I would say, in this space over some others, which I think can sometimes be the fool's gold of it, right? Like I can go get, I hear a bunch of people that were talking about it when I first got in the business, talking about seconds, right? I can go buy 20 seconds for what I can buy a first for and all this kind of stuff. And they inherently, the next part of that conversation is because I know 25% of these are going to be totally a waste. And it just is kind of a weird notion. And that's fine. And that's maybe how that space operates or whatever. But it was just this idea to me to be like, that's a ton of quantity, as it were, right? And there's bound to be some gold, right, that you're sifting through on that. But sniper shotting the actual deals that make sense for you, for your portfolio, that aren't just volume for volume's sake and what have you, I think is an important call. I totally agree.
You know what you said there, though, that I like. You said what works for you, because the funny part about that, I was talking with somebody that runs a very large hedge fund here in New York, and very complimentary, but they were talking about their partner and basically said he's the type of guy that thinks you have to be in the office at 7:30 and leave at 6 every day, and if you're not working that amount of hours, if you're not butting the seat doing the work, that you're not doing something hard enough. And it's kind of funny because a lot of that just is based, in my opinion, what your model is. When we talk to investors and or new people that are getting into the space, and they're like, so like, well, how do you do this, or what do you need to get for your return? And I'm always, I understand where the question comes from, but confused as to why they think you'd have the answer, because they do need to structure those things for themselves.
I love the way you just worded that. They ask you the question. That was so great. I like that. That was good.
Yeah, but it's so true. I think it's one of the things that, and when I go back to it, I make the reference often, the fact that they are asking these questions because they haven't spent enough time on their own trying to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we see that for a lot of people. The whole when you're a kid and you can't find your shoes or something. And I don't know if it was like this for you, buddy, but my mother seemed to always be able to find them, and they weren't necessarily in such a hidden spot. They only really end up in a few spots, and it's you didn't really look for it. You didn't spend time answering the question for yourself for what you want. And, as I'm seeing more and more people enter the space, I think it's being diluted by some of the education they're receiving without a focus on the why. And I think it's really getting removed. What we've talked about at some level with the goal setting and the lifestyle design. Why are you doing this? What do you want to get from it? As opposed to, I'm going to make a bunch of money because that's what you do in the note space. And I saw this case study and somebody made 43% on their money in 7 weeks, and I can do it too. So I don't know. It's interesting. I guess my mind is focused on a lot more of that stuff in the last couple of weeks after having come back from Haiti. And it's such a front of mind thing. It's kind of, I guess the other way to put it, it would be kind of like a conversation I had with Steven, where people go to a Tony Robbins event or someone of that same kind of caliber, and that plateau or the fall off. And I'm definitely still up on the top of the hill. I'm not falling off from, I guess, the gratitude of the experience yet. But how do you keep something like that front of mind when you're focusing both on your business and on the why of what you're doing with your business? Mm-hmm. And I think that's just something I would say it's a good spot to spend a little bit of time thinking about right now.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely agree with you. I had never really thought of that. I guess probably having never gone to like a proper Tony Robbins event or really reading anything about it, but that idea of coming off the high or coming off that whatever that mental state that you were in, say in that place of being able to do that. But inherent in what you're talking about a good friend of ours who's trying to do good business for this charity that he has going on down there, Children First, right? He knows exactly what he's about. He, through all of whatever the trials and all the other issues might be, but he's not just going to make for make's sake, right? Like he's got to obviously take care of the family and all those kinds of things. But he knows what he's doing. in terms of where that effort's going to go and where that's going to go, which I just think is fantastic. And you can see it when you hear him talk about it. And we've linked it up now a couple of times in the show notes. So definitely go check that out. I'm currently working with them to kind of get them a proper website put up and all those kinds of things, because that's just, where my gifts lie, right? And that's where I have an opportunity to be able to give. And so it just, to me, is super important to kind of take that step of why or what is it that's really important to me? Kind of that you were thinking about or mentioning that idea of having not spent enough time sitting and thinking about it, right? One of my favorite podcasts is the Tim Ferriss podcast, right? Because he's able to get in front of or get on the phone and do interviews with just people that are world class in numerous different ways. And time and again, they mention, it's so strange to me how often these, in the 200 plus episodes he's done, which is the book, right? Tools for Titans, how often these world class people across just a crazy diverse horizontal of skills, talents, businesses, and all those kinds of things do similar things. Not even similar things, but the same things, right? And oftentimes they bring up this idea of either having on their schedule time to sit and think, right? Like literally sitting down, like you're saying, button seats, right? Like not obviously the same 7 to 6 or whatever, but right, like having that time, and not even in a meditative perspective, but like that sit and think time is so critical. So critical to so many world-class performers, so many world-class business people, so many world-class athletes. And it's so strange that we're on the outside and we're just like, man, my business is kind of stagnant right now, or, oh, my systems aren't really where they need to be, or, I'm not seeing the deal flow, or I'm not raising the capital, or whatever it is, or my relationships, or whatever. And we wonder why, and we try all these different types of things. And oftentimes right in front of us, we've talked about it on the show, oftentimes the most successful people are the most accessible people. But a lot of times in these interviews or different books or whatever, they're telling you, like all of that stuff is right in front of you, right? Gratitude. Tony Robbins talks so much about gratitude, right? And I see so many people trying to climb to reach the success financial side when they miss this whole other side, or they don't do the sit and thinking time, or they don't do what for like the past 50 years or whatever, everyone has, all they've said that Warren Buffett does on a daily basis is sit and read, right? Like that's all this dude does. He sits and he reads different types of, just all kinds of things, right? Articles, inside stuff. Yeah, it seems to work. And you step back and you go, well, I could never do that. I've got to, it blows my mind how it's like we have this recipe for baking a cake right in front of us. We have this recipe right in front of us. We can sit there and just read it off, right? An hour of thing, like whatever that is, right? 2 eggs and milk and whatever. We have this recipe. And then we get in the kitchen and we take it and we just kind of like fold it up, put it in our pocket, and then we just get all the ingredients that we think we need on the countertop and start just making it up. Even though we have this recipe in our back pocket all the time. And it just sometimes, and I find myself in this spot. I'm talking from just me. I don't know if anybody else is listening has a struggle. Maybe it's just me, right? But I find myself there more often than I should. And it continues to just befuddle me sometimes. And I catch myself and I'm like, you've got the recipe, dude. Just work it. Work that recipe.
When was the last time you think you did just sit down and think?
So, as our show often does in this way, I would say towards the end of last week was the first time, because again, I was listening for the 100th time on a podcast, reading a book or whatever, where somebody brought it up, and I'm like, man, I really haven't done that. And so last Thursday was actually when I was able to accomplish that. But can I even tell you the last time it was before last Thursday? I cannot. So that in and of itself, I think is another way to answer the question. And it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic, right? And everybody's hour is going to be different. A lot of people talk about the joys of free writing. I've never been able to really do that, where you just kind of like no holds barred, just anything that's in your head. That's not really how I do it, or did it, I should say. And I've tried that multiple times in the past, and it's just not, I don't know. It's not the way that I work. Maybe too self-critical, and I can't turn off the that gatekeeper, as it were, when I do it in that way. But essentially, it was fantastic.
On your own shoulder, critiquing your work as you're putting it out.
Yeah. But if it's, but as I sat and I thought, and I jotted down stuff, but it wasn't nearly at a pace of what you would consider to be a free writing type pace. And it just allowed me to really marinate on some stuff. Essentially, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, as a give back opportunity, the give back show, as it were. And this is kind of a totally different take on that. But again, it just is so interesting to me to look at people that are where you think you want to be, and maybe they are where you want to be. And they say things that you think are the ancillary, are the secondary components. And oftentimes I miss that those things are A1 or 1B to the 1A that you thought was the successful component. And to me, I think I missed that pitch, as it were, more often than I should be. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that. And so I'm trying to course correct as far as that is concerned, for sure.
Well, it is a constant pursuit of incremental growth towards your worthy ideal, my friend.
It is all of that. Yes, that's very true. It is your constant pursuit towards a worthy goal. Ideal. I like, man. It
is your constant pursuit of incremental growth towards your worthy ideal.
I feel
we can start putting Note MBA quote pictures out.
We can.
It's a word stew of all of our inspirational readings that we.
I think it adds a really great component. I think we had another project that we wanted to do, but I feel like if we do that project now, it'll be weird because we're already into March. But
the software project?
No, the calendar, because we're already into March. I actually have it mostly done, but we're into March, so I feel like it's weird.
March is the time to do it so that we have it done for 2018.
Sure, but that now leaves us with that leaves us in a weird spot of 9 more months of it just sitting there. So you want me to do the 2018's version and then just have it sitting there?
Then it'll be finished.
It will be. It's true. All right. If anybody's curious as to what we're talking about, in case you can't figure it out, just send us an email, ask@notmba.com, and I'll fill you in. Anything else that you would like to address in this bizarrely in our own head episode of the give back episode of Note MBA podcast?
This week, no. I mean, actually, the science of getting rich readings. Let's address those because
sure
about it. I think it's been very interesting. I understand, and I love the feedback because I agree. It is quite dry material to read. In the sense of for the audiobook and listening to it, I think it's a little different for sure. But in reading every week as I put those together, it's really reabsorbing in a different way all this material. And I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I hope there's a few people who are enjoying it or giving it away to a couple people. I really created it for myself. I wanted to hear me speaking to myself of this book. And so through doing this project and sharing it, that's what I have received. So hopefully somebody else got some value out of it. We did say in a couple weeks in similar into that line, in a few weeks here, hopefully the end of March, beginning of April, I have a little project that we're going to launch out that, something I created for myself, but we'll keep that on the back burner until we actually have the deliverable product. Mm-hmm. But, I think this has just been a good week. Sorry, not a lot of note specific talk. We are trying to have an interview with Mr. Brecht Palumbo in another couple weeks from Distress Pro. And we are looking towards April for attending the Paper Source seminar in is it a conference or a seminar? How is it titled?
I think it's a conference, but their web address is PaperSource Seminar, because PaperSource is I think it's like a notes or stationery company or at least URL. So
definitely are. I actually just ordered some envelopes from them last week. Stationery is ungodly expensive, but it's really cool. So
yeah,
you pick and choose. You know
who does some really good stationery? Next time you're taking a look at it, because it's who we get our cards through is Moo. Moo does some pretty sweet stationery. Yeah, they do. They do some good stationery. Anyway, I will let you get back to your coconut water, your French sparkling water, and your birthday with your friend who is doing the 100 Days of Love, which I think is fantastic. It's continuance up in New York. I think it's super cool. If you would not mind, please let them know that I think it's just a really cool project. And it was in part one of the ingredients that brought this show topic to the fore. So definitely let him know, and I love it. I love what he's doing. I think it's cool.
Should that inspire us to do 100 days of notes?
100 days of notes. To what end? How will what will be the listen, man?
We start with day one. We'll answer that question. To be continued.
Well, be sure to look out for the if you have not already. So we'll end the show here. If you have not already, head over to Facebook. Give our Facebook page a like. Give it a follow over there, because we will be sharing soon, apparently, as Robby tends to do and creates on the show on the fly projects for us, which I love, actually. And I don't mean that tongue in cheek in any way. I really do enjoy it. We will be starting. Go ahead.
Because we don't have enough going on.
We'll be starting 100 Days in Notes, which I'm very excited about, coming soon. And we will be sharing these across our social platforms and email. And of course, we'll be talking about it on the show. But Facebook will be the best place to capture all of that, and or our YouTube channel, probably. Anyway, if this is your first time here, we appreciate you joining us. Head over to iTunes, give us a rating, a review, and of course, subscribe. As always, everything we've talked about will be mentioned and or linked up in the show notes over at notaba.com. And if you have not already, be sure to find 5 people somewhere in the universe that has never heard of this show and share it with them. We'll catch you guys next week.
Later, buddy. Have a good one.
You do the same.